Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for attending today. We'll just give everybody a couple more minutes to join and we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, well, we are right at the top of the hour, so we're going to get things going. Thank you for attending today. My name is Victoria Elliott. I'm the marketing manager for Mutare. Thank you so much for joining today's online event, Cisco Voice Security. Today we are focused on protecting UC and CC environments from voice-based attacks. Now for some introductions. Today's session is led by Brian McDonald, our Director of Product Development. Hello, Brian. We
Hello,
also
how are you? Disembodied voice from beyond?
Yes.
mystery. And we also have Roger Northrup, our Chief Technology Officer from Mutare. Good afternoon, Roger.
Hey, how is everything today?
Great. Well, today's session is open for questions, so please type your questions in the GoToWebinar box or click on the question icon to pop out the type form depending on what your view looks like. So now we're going to go ahead and get things started. I'm going to turn over to Brian.
Thank you, Vicki. Good morning, Roger. How are you today?
Very awake now after coffee.
Well done. All right, thanks everybody for joining. Today, we're going to go a little bit over Cisco Voice Security, and specifically, we're going to be talking a lot about protecting the UC and the contact center environments from voice-based attacks. And we've got a lot to say, so let's get on it. Short agenda, just want to give you guys an overview. First, we're going to talk about our voice traffic filter product, which is the VTF you see on here, and give you a solution overview. And we're going to talk about integrations and how this fits into your Cisco ecosystems. And then we're going to talk a little bit about our speech to text solution and how that fits in with your voice security. And then we'll open it up to questions. All right, let's dig in. So this slide really describes, in a nutshell, our voice traffic filter. In short, you can think of it as a firewall for your voice traffic. Organizations today obviously have network firewalls in place. They put these typically at the edge, also internally, and these are tuned to keep the bad guys out, keep the good traffic flowing in. This is a firewall for your voice traffic. This protects against spammers, spoofers, ne'er-do-wells who are trying to attack your system via voice. Anytime you introduce the human element, as we all know from a security standpoint, you've got a large weakness, and we can help. So what one of the tenets that we hold for the product is to provide you, the customer, control over your voice traffic and what to do with each call. And to that end, we give you the power to take an action on each call, depending on the configuration you have on your voice traffic filter. And those actions are pretty straightforward. So the most popular one obviously is allow the call to go through, no problem. Most of your calls are good, let's let them through. The other options are to drop the call. If you know this is a fraud call, for instance, or you know this is spoofed, you can drop the call and we can help you do that. The other two options are a little more subtle. The first is you can reroute the call. And routing is usually a transfer. This could be to just an extension, maybe for voicemail. You can route this to different personnel. In fact, and we'll talk about this later during the contact center discussion later, you can route those calls to skill groups or agents that are trained to handle suspicious callers. And then lastly, which is my favorite, you can send these calls to the voice CAPTCHA, and Roger's going to talk a little bit about that later. So how do we actually protect your system and provide you the tools? Well, we have 5 layers that you can see here on the right side. So the first layer there is stir shaken. I think everybody's heard about that lately. So we are not a stir shaken replacement. We do not actually do the analysis for stir shaken, but what we do is we provide that information to you and you get to decide what to do based on the analysis that's done by your carrier, usually your carrier as the terminating carrier. We provide you the option to take action based on telephone number validation and the attestation. The second layer is our proprietary dynamic database. So this is not just a robocall database. This is actually a series of several databases that we have. And many of these are always changing in real time, depending on threats amongst all of our customers and in the industry in general. You can think of the proprietary dynamic database as a meta-analysis of call traffic happening. That's a slightly different from the third layer of protection, the threat radar. This is a machine learning tool that is used on your specific voice traffic. It learns your normal voice traffic and traffic patterns and determines if there are anomalies such as spikes or if you undergo threats like neighbor spoofing attacks. If you don't know what neighbor spoofing is, you've probably experienced this where your phone rings and it's a number that's very similar to yours. And the idea is the bad guys are enticing you to answer that call because it might be, well, is this a neighbor? Is this the doctor's office calling? I have an appointment later for someone, maybe they're calling me. Could be anything like that, and you're more apt to answer the call. We can handle that with Threat Radar. So for the last two, Roger, I'd like to invite you to talk a little bit about these.
Yeah, what we really like is the custom rules because Mutare believes it's important that the customer has control over how the voice traffic is handled. So these custom rules gives you the control to, like what Brian said, to drop, send a CAPTCHA, or route the call. And you can do this on a variety of things, such as the calling number, the called number, the calling name, call direction, country code, and even wildcard a number. And so you can mix and match all of these different options, which gives you a lot of flexibility. And how would you like to have a rules factory that sets certain thresholds that automatically creates a rule for you? See, that's another thing. The other part I really like is the CAPTCHA. We are all familiar with when you log into a website and you have to pick the fire hydrants or stoplights, right? Well, this is the same thing, but it's really a voice CAPTCHA. So when a caller comes in, they randomize the digits and we drop them if they don't get them right. And this is where all the bots are caught in the organization when they come into your calls. And with so much AI in the news, Mutare is prepared to handle the next gen AI that's coming up. Brian?
Awesome. Thank you, Roger. So those are the 5 layers. So let's give you a taste of what this looks like when you're administering the system. So this is our dashboard. This is a typical dashboard. You can see immediately, you can see the day of the week patterns in here for calling. In this particular example, you can see on the front end here of this, the customer had this system just in log only mode. And what it's doing is analyzing, it's letting all the calls through, but it's analyzing them to see what might have happened. And we actually encourage this. Later, you're going to hear a little bit about this again, but we do offer a 30-day trial free. And what we usually recommend is for the first week or two is have the system learn how your call patterns, and you can then understand what the impact this can have on your system. And then you can start tuning and letting the system tune itself for you. And then you can start to see, in this case, this particular customer overall had a lot of attacks in here. And you can see in this middle column how all 5 layers were protecting this particular customer. So the custom rules picked up a lot of them. The proprietary dynamic database picked up quite a lot of phone calls. You can even see that there was a several attacks on the realm of 16,000 calls that Threat Radar picked up. And if you skip down here, you can see that the storm detector picked up all of these, and that was the type of attack that occurred for this customer. And then here you can see that the CAPTCHA was very good at weeding out by 80% the robots from the humans. So this is just one piece. We're not going to show you everything, but this gives you a good taste of how the 5 layers are applied. There's more on the portal, including integration to your security systems. Via SIM, we'll send the logs over to your SIM so you can send that data upstream to your Cisco XDR systems and notice any anomalies that are happening. All right.
Hey, Brian,
All
you
right.
know, one of the things, can you go back? One of the things I really liked on there was the most attacked. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is I liked it when your team put this in earlier this year. It gives the customer a real quick insight on who in the organization is being targeted the most. And you said in the beginning that, you know, to the human element, that's sometimes the hardest to train. But if you're aware of who is being targeted the most, the administrator of the voice system can collaborate with the security team, and they can bring awareness to this and know we may have to train these users a little bit more or take a look deeply into the systems to protect them more.
Fantastic point. Excellent. All right. So let's talk a little bit about how we can integrate into the Cisco ecosystem. So there's 2 main things we're going to talk about today. The one is the Cisco Cube SBC. I know Roger's got a lot to talk about that. And then we're going to talk about the really tight integration we have with the Cisco WebEx Contact Center. All right, Roger, why don't you take this this one from here?
Sure. This is an example of an on-prem deployment with the Cisco Cube. And you know, I have to say, with all the different customers we've done these deployments with the Cube, it's amongst the smoothest that we can integrate in, even in very complex environments. And once the customer network team sees that the Mutare voice traffic filter is in a fail open solution, that network team becomes very comfortable because a fail open solution is considered a transparent type of a system. And what this means is that none of the calls will be dropped if any issue arises on the Mutare side. So in this particular case, however, the customer decided they wanted to put those 3 virtual systems on site, but the dynamic database with all the metadata, that's in our cloud-based. And they wanted to put this on site because they like the control and the security of everything. And on this next system, this too is a Cisco Cube deployment, but we have customers who want to do full 100% cloud, and some of them want to do hybrid as well, which is all available. And so this is very much the same as an implementation on-prem. The difference is this customer would be using TLS, which is an encrypted secure connection, and or VPN off to the Mutare cloud. Like I said, some of the customers, they choose hybrid, and they'll pull the Mutare proxy and also that CAPTCHA server into their network because they want to keep all of the SIP traffic and locally to them. And then the API calls are made out to the Mutare cloud for the BTF. So this is very important that customers have this flexibility. Mutare recognized this very early on. Very nice deployments that we can do for you.
Awesome. I know the cubes are really easy to work with, so it's great.
Very easy. Yep.
All right. Now let's talk a little bit about the contact center implementation here. And specifically, we're going to talk about the excuse me, the Cisco WebEx Contact Center solution. So one of the things that you're going to see here is this call flow. This is a typical inbound call flow for an organization. And what we're trying to show here is where the voice traffic filter fits in. Many customers have multiple flows, so you might have different campaigns for different inbound call flows. One of the things that you're going to see is that we set the voice traffic filter, as we said, a firewall right up front. So as soon as that call comes in to that call flow, the first thing we're doing is performing that lookup, doing that traffic filter and analysis for you. And that happens even before like your CRM lookup. So we're able to nab that call, decide what to do. And again, we can apply those actions we talked about right within the contact center. So that includes allow the call to go through, drop, route, and route is extremely important in the contact center. As most of you know, if you're working in the contact center, dropping a call is something you probably may not want to do very often, in which case we work with customers to provide not only route capabilities, and route capabilities can go to skill groups, particular agents, they can go to voicemails, you can divert them however you'd like. But we can also supply some rich metadata to your agents. So even if you want the call to go through and route, we can provide some metadata on the analysis to those agents so they are prepared when the calls are answered. And again, you tie this in with your overarching syslogging that happens up into your XDR systems. Those can all be correlated together. The other option is you can also divert this to the CAPTCHA very quickly, get a response, and then from that continue on the call. So again, all the flexibility you have right within the contact center flow itself. And then the call continues on. A lot of customers already have perhaps biometric authentication in their systems, in which case that might happen during their IVR flow. Once the call goes to an agent, they might be already having systems that can help with fraud detection, such as listening in the call, applying AI analysis to the calling party to determine if they're a fraudster or not. So all these together, these pieces work together, and the Mutare voice traffic filter sits right up front. Roger, you want to talk a little bit about implementing this?
Yeah, if you go to the next slide, it talks about the WebEx Contact Center. So this particular slide that you see right here, this is the Cisco Flow Designer. If none of you have been able to touch and work with it, it's very intuitive and very easy to put together. But this is a particular call flow that you would see within the WebEx Contact Center. This is before Mutare begins to integrate into this particular system. So go over and show the integration part, Brian, on the next slide. So those three pieces that you see there is what Mutare works with you and your team to drop in into any one of your flows that you want to have calls screened, okay? After that, we work with another VTF flow. So remember the design we showed you of the cloud-based and also the on-prem? Well, there's a proxy and a CAPTCHA. We've built all of that on top of the WebEx Contact Center. So that's all contained within another VTF flow that we have there. And it takes about 60 minutes to actually implement this. It's very smooth and very easy. And within that time, you're already making calls and we're already screening calls and you're already testing it. So it's a very quick implementation to put up on your system in the WebEx Contact Center.
So you talked about a 60-minute implementation. Is that for real?
That is for real.
And
absolutely.
So let's say I'm a customer and I've got, dozens and dozens of call flows. How easy is it for me to implement the voice traffic filter in each of those?
So the proxy and the CAPTCHA is a single flow. Those three elements you would want to drop into each one of your flows. That would be it. Once you've done it, you can copy them into those three other flows. You're done.
This also allows the contact center admins to select which flows are protected and which aren't, depending on their situation and how they're tuned. Excellent. Fantastic. Cool. All right.
Oh, great. One other thing, Brian, forgot to tell you. That also is a full-blown fail-open solution as well. So it'll automatically never drop a call if anything.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So recently, Mutare has been seen on the WebEx App Hub. If you go to the WebEx App Hub, search for Mutare, search for voice traffic filter, you will find this page. And a couple of things that my marketing team has stressed that I point out to you all, and that's down here at the bottom, that there is a 30-day trial available at no cost. As you heard from Roger, this is really for real, an implementation of an hour. And typically what our team does is work with you ahead of time and say, hey, come prepared. Here's some scripts. Come prepared with a call flow that you already have, maybe used for training or used for testing. Get it set up so you can already have your agents, and let's test this whole thing. We'll test the entire call flow through with you guys. And usually we can get that done, as Roger said, within an hour. And then you can see how the system works and then start applying that to your other call flows. It's very cool. Immediate impact. All right. So one small few comments on our what we call GIST, which is our speech to text solution. And there we go. In most cases, this speech to text is used for voicemail, and especially on the Cisco platform. This is a lightning fast and highly accurate speech to text system for voicemail. And where we're seeing this a lot is in contact centers on Cisco Unity mailboxes. And the reason for this is because we're able to do multilingual and very fast speech to text, we can provide very rich metadata back to the agents very quickly when voice messages are kept. And you can see an example of what an email of that looks like on the right here. Now, the trick here is that we've seen a lot of our customers doing analytics on the transcriptions as well, because we're able to provide those and provide the metadata for these voicemail messages. These analytics can be used for training. They can be used for correlation for security. Hot phrases and words can be pulled out and analyzed and then correlated to campaigns and whatnot. So very kind of clever applications that we're seeing, especially from a security standpoint. So very cool there. Roger, anything to add here?
No, we're all good on this one. You covered it.
All right, fantastic. Well, we're already on to the Q&A section. So I'm going to open this up to questions. I believe our disembodied voice has compiled a bunch of questions for us. All right, so Roger, one of the questions here is, can I use the filter with both my UC and CC users? That's a good question for you.
That's a very good question. Matter of fact, on some of the designs that you saw, like I said, hybriding is very important. You can actually point the CC back, the API calls back to the Mutare voice traffic filter that you control, okay? So that one Mutare voice traffic filter you see that's in the cloud there, your CC users, which are coming off of your internal network, they would be passing through that using those rules, and the contact center also can pass through that as well and using the same rules. Absolutely, absolutely.
Excellent. All right, got another question. Is there anything in the industry to prevent fraudsters outside our environment from spoofing our numbers? Oh, very good question. For example, fraudsters spoof one of our numbers and calls one of our clients trying to give them information. The call never traverses our network as it's external to us. A couple things on that. One, make sure you are not spoofing yourself. We consult with some customers on this. And by the way, our voice traffic filter can also protect your outbound calling. You can use several of our layers for outbound calling, which will protect you from some of these situations. Now, that being said, sometimes you can't help it where those fraudsters are spoofing your numbers. We do have some partnerships with a couple organizations. I do ask that you contact our sales team. They do have some partnerships with a couple organizations that can help, and I do recommend you do that. They have really good comprehensive approach to this. That's not just pay them and then you get off the bad list. These are actually really good services that can be useful to you. Okay, question. From a change management perspective, does this impact agent training or can it be completely transparent? The answer is yes. It's always recommended that you augment training, and your training regiment is really part of your security process and your security play. So you should always be training them. You can simply use this transparently. Our recommendation is for best results, though, to apply both. Apply this transparently on the front end, but as you get into some really good use cases, especially for organizations that really need to cater to their callers, maybe you're in healthcare or customer service, and you need to be clever about how you handle those callers, in which case you do want to augment training. But the voice traffic filter can fit together. As we said, we can provide metadata back to your contact center agents about the call so that they're already aware, not only via your CRM lookup who these callers are, but also a little bit about this might be a suspicious call.
Hey, Brian, I have one thing. Everybody likes a little bit of a story. This is a real situation from one customer. I wanted to talk about in those custom rules again. This particular customer was calling in and they needed to get to 3 departments of the medical facility. And one of the departments, this customer would call in and yell and scream and become belligerent. And so with the VTF custom rules, they were able to do a 1-to-1 type ratio. So they knew all the customers' numbers and they would call to the 2 departments they were allowed to that they were never belligerent. But the other department, they would route it right to the security desk. So he said when the customer picked up that security desk and it was their police on site, he stopped calling like that. So just another one way that you can control traffic. And they told us we couldn't do that on SBC that easy. It was all or nothing on the SBC. So by using the routing function here, they could get around it. It was very cool.
That is a great story. I have not heard that before. That's fantastic. So
I saved
this was
it for
absolutely not prepared ahead of time. So
yeah.
That's kind of funny. Awesome, Roger. Well done. All right, everybody. I think that's all the questions we had. I thank you very much for attending. And again, search for us on the App Store, the Cisco App Hub, and hit us up at mutare.com. Thanks.
See you.